I continue my efforts to be more active physically, and or just to work on improving my physical health, and along with that goes emotional and mental health. And one of the things I do, which has been a lifelong issue with me, is standing from lying down, or even from sitting sometimes, and moving my head has often made me a little bit dizzy. So I've discovered from my doctor you can do something about that. So I went to a vestibular therapist, and this woman was really cool. She's very down to earth and just said, here's 3 exercises. And one of them is turn your eyes one side and then the other, and then up and down, then turn the head left and right, up and down, and do this, each of these 6 times, and then close your eyes and do the same thing with the head turning. So that takes a couple minutes to do. So I thought, while I'm doing that, why don't I, I've noticed that as I'm doing that, I become more aware of my surroundings. And I'm just, it's very nice to have that prompt to pay attention and to have it feel natural part of my activity. And I'm starting to notice that creeping into other parts of my life.
Well, if you came in for a lesson and said that, what I would want to demonstrate to you was that if you use yourself to do an exercise in the way that you use yourself to create the necessity for the exercise, you probably don't get full value of the exercise. Did that make sense?
No.
If you use yourself, I'll say it, no. If you use yourself in the way that you use yourself to create the necessity for the exercise,
yes,
to do the exercise,
yeah,
you probably won't get the full value of the exercise.
Right.
It's probably still valuable.
yeah,
If you do a deadlift and you don't use yourself in the way that the body is designed to accomplish that,
right,
you can hurt yourself.
yes.
So,
I think that's a really good point, thank you.
so I would then come over and give you a little bit more freedom of your head's relationship to the rest of the organism, and then have you do the exercise with guided movement. A straight Frank Jones. I would guide your movement while you did that, and it's the perfect time for you to practice the nature of this work.
That makes sense to me. Since I don't know what caused my vestibular issues to happen, and by the way, this therapy works very quickly, so I'm like dramatically better after just a couple of times, and I do it every day.
It's a version of the Bates method.
Norman?
The eyes.
What?
Yeah, working with the eyes
Okay.
to affect change in the body.
Yeah. Right. So I don't know what causes it, or increasingly caused it, but I do find that just the attention to being present in the moment helps me, and sort of contemplating how I'm moving helps me make adjustments to how I'm moving.
Well, one of the ways you bring it's an exercise that you can do in the Elegant work.
Mm-hmm.
When he concludes, I think it's been a long time since I've read it, when he concludes the chapter on evolution of a technique,
Mm-hmm.
He ultimately discovered, and Frank talks about this, Jones, you can continue to do what you normally do habitually. You can choose not to do that and do it a different way, the movement of the head, or having freed your neck, which then permits a greater movement away from the pulling into the body and movement away from the body,
Mm-hmm.
either forward and up or as it needs to, because the body probably knows more than what I know.
Mm-hmm.
And because it is cellular consciousness and it's taking care of me, like a
Yeah.
beehive. And so you can also choose to do a movement completely separate from the movement you usually do. And that actually frees your system from constantly being invited to do it habitually.
Mm-hmm.
So you could start the exercise.
Yeah.
You could play with the Alexander directions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, not everybody needs them. I never used them when I first started. Frank never asked me to let my neck be free. He explained what it meant and why,
Mm-hmm.
and how it affected the body, and then ran me through the neuromuscular aspect of it, with terms I'd never thought about. Trapezius muscle. So, but doing something altogether different. So the way to do that, if you wanted to use the directions, you can do that. But before you use the directions, and you could all try it. I did it one day in North Carolina, and I got more freedom than I've had in a long time ago. So I would just turn my head to the right. I would decide to turn my head to the right, and I would do it over and over and over. I would decide to turn my head to the right, and then I wouldn't. I would move it in a different direction all at once. All together. And after I spent about 15 minutes doing that, my neck was completely free. You could do the eye. One of the reasons the relationship of the head relative to the rest of the organism is not the primary control is you've also got the vestibular system going and you got your eyes going, and they are just as responsible for your balance as the head-neck relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So those three work in tandem.
Yeah.
So when you're messing with your eyes, and the reason that Aldous Huxley got interested in the Bates method, he wanted to translate the Alexander work into the Bates method and study the Bates method for eyes. And that's what made Alexander mad at him. And that's how Frank Jones ended up with Aldous Huxley.
Mm.
Interesting. So it's a good exercise to do that with. And why? Yeah, you're designed to use your eyes in response to a given environment. Whatever environment you habitat, a change of environments or the same environment, we are dominated as human beings from our eyes, eye senses.
Mm-hmm.
And we generally turn our head to see something if we hear a sound. We don't just turn our head to turn our heads.
Mm-hmm.
So, but everybody's on a cell phone. Everybody's cloistered into themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the beehive. You're not doing the work to make honey, to make your use better necessarily. You're doing this work to restore the health to your whole system.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would do that more and more.
I'm finding that I've reached the point where anatomy information is starting to seep into me in a way that I find useful. So thinking about things like, what happens when I'm going forward and lifting my arm up and putting my head back and thinking about the atlas and the atlanto-occipital joint and how the whole spine moves and what can I do differently to try to make that work better. And and when I'm doing, which variations on downward dog pose, which are designed to substantially to elongate the spine and also do some leg stretching. I'm making I'm checking in across my body and making lots of subtle adjustments without sometimes even making the adjustment, just thinking it. And I find that goes well with Alexander.
Well, it does. What you should do, what we can do, all of us, is everybody can. I was going to do sit to stand, and we'll get to that, but it came out of already wanting to work, chair work, and I want to go through it with everybody for this week. But if everybody finds something to do, something that you do that you normally do. If you find something that you normally do, you're more apt to use it in a habitual way because you do it a lot and you've settled into a comfortable way of doing something. Most people live their lives that way. So what the Alexander work does is ask you to look at what you're doing and the way that you're performing what you're doing. And is this the most effective way of achieving what I want to get from what I'm doing without harming my body or myself? And so the teacher is there as a guide. It's guided movement. I like Frank's term, guided movement. Is that if you're going to demonstrate the postural set that precedes and accompanies your movement, there is a postural set that precedes and accompanies most people's movement. It's a subtle, and you can demonstrate that postural set quite easily with the sit to stand motion of your body. Because most people, when they get up from wherever they are, they go into a postural set of movement, which isn't necessary before they actually move. And it usually involves the relationship of the head relative to the rest of the organism. And so the teacher guides the person into a kinesthetic awareness of how they're using themselves to accomplish what they're doing. And so if everybody just thinks of doing something, and we'll divvy up, and you'll work with each other while you're doing it. Find something that you do in your daily life and do it. You're the doer, and then the Alexander perk is going to be watching what you do and observing how you use yourself to do what you do, and decide whether or not you introduce just hands-on and guide them, have a guided movement to what they're doing, or you discuss directions, or you discuss inhibition, or you discuss withholding definition, because you don't have to always use the same thing. And how do you convey that? So